So for this video today, we're going to talk about the shape of our amplifiers and how to start adding parts to our amplifiers. So we're going to first make our sphere into an egg shape. The amplifier should be much like a megaphone that cheerleaders use. If you think about a megaphone, it's small at one end and then gets bigger. And then on this end, it's a big, wide opening. In just a moment, I'm going to show you how to make your sphere into the egg shape that we were talking about. But I drew a little picture here to show you what it would do. So you're going to have it smaller at this end, and it's going to get wider and bigger on the outside here. Then you're going to cut a big, wide opening to amplify that sound. This is where we're going to stick the cell phones in. So I've changed my idea. I'm going to do a gator. And so you can see this is where I'd stick the cell phone in. And then on the inside here, behind the gator's head, you'll see that big wide opening that I have cut there. So to get your egg shape, you want to flatten out one side, and then you want to roll the other side on the table to get the shape that you want. You can also use your hands to kind of pull that out. So just gently kind of pull the clay so you have more of the angle. So as you're working the clay, you're going to get those small cracks in it. So you want to get your water out. Make sure you're smoothing those cracks out as you're working. So before you do the next step, you want to make sure that your amplifier is in that egg shape. I'm going to show you different ways to add parts to your amplifier. So for my gator, I'm going to make 2 pinch pots. So I'm going to make a small one for the bottom and then a bigger one for the top. I'm going to make some legs and then hollow them out. I'll explain why they need to be hollowed out when we do that. Same thing here. And then I'm going to make a big tail that's also hollow. So to make your sphere into an egg shape, you want to pound kind of one side and to get it to be more flat on one side, and then you want the egg shape on the... So for my gator, this is going to be the bottom and this is going to be the top of the head. Now of course you can tell that I need to like flatten this pinch pot out some to make it work for what I'm trying to do. So I've just made some pinch pots. So I'm going to flatten that out. I want it to look more like his mouth. One thing about clay, whenever you're making anything, you want to remember that everything has to be about less than a little bit of a half of an inch thick all the way around. If you have anything like a solid chunk of clay, what happens is that clay can't dry out and it's going to blow up in the kiln. So even when I'm making the head, it has to be hollow in there. So I'm just working that clay out, trying to make it more like the top of his head would be. So you can stretch clay and work it to make it do what you want it to do. I'm going to make it more long. So as I stretch the clay or move the clay, I'm getting those cracks and I'm smoothing those out. And my clay is pretty soft, so one thing, if you have some wedged clay that's hard and it's not soft enough, you might want to start over and get some wedged clay that's soft to work with. So now that's more the long shape that I want. I have to do the same with the bottom. So I've made my pinch pots a little bit longer. However, it kind of looks more like a beak right now. So what I'm going to do in just a second is I'm going to cut the clay so it's more straight across like I want. So now you can see how I've cut more of a straight edge off there. So now you can see how I've started to make the head for the gator. So feet for whatever you're doing, you can make them fairly big like this, and then to hollow them out, remember that all our clay needs to be about a little bit less than a ½ inch. So what I do is I'll stick pencil right through the middle and then kind of hollow it out. So that way air can get in there and it can start to dry out that, so it's not so thick. And you can kind of push that pencil around to make it even more hollow. Okay. Then for the feet, I have like little toes on mine. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to kind of flatten out the bottom, and I'm going to cut kind of separate the toes out. I'm going to kind of squish the foot down a little bit. And then you'll want to use your fingers or a tool to kind of shape so once you kind of have the look that you want and it's hollow, remember if it's big and thick that it has to be hollow on the inside. So that would be 1 foot. And sometimes you have to get tools in there to kind of help you smooth things out. Another thing that you can do is you can make parts with slabs. So you'll need to get a canvas board and make sure it's wet before you get started. The thing to make slabs is you have to flip your clay to get you want an even, consistent slab all the way across. You don't want one side of your slab to be super thick and then one side of your slab to be really thin. So flipping kind of helps you to do that. I don't like using those smaller rolling pins for this. You want to get one of the bigger rolling pins. So we're about close to the size I'm looking for. Remember, a little bit less than that ½ inch thickness is what we need. You don't want a thin slab. If it's too thin, it won't work for you. So for my tail, I'm going to cut and then what I'm going to do for my tail is score and slip it together. So I'll have to score and slip this all together and smooth that out, put a coil on the top, and then you can see how I have a nice tail for my gator. Remember, as you're working, smooth out those coils. So that would be my tail. You can also make different parts out of slabs, like if you want to make a fin Or you could even do a foot this way. You know, if you had like a foot. You could make a foot that could go on something. That would be like a back foot. You could even do, you know, all your fins or scales. If you have any scales, I'm going to have little scales for my gator, but maybe you have something that has some. Here's different ways and examples of ways that you can make your parts for your amplifier. Remember that you have to have 8 parts. So your eyes could be 2, hands and feet could be 4 more. So just make sure you're having at least 8 parts coming off of your amplifier.